Hi everyone! In this video I'm going to show you how to paint a colourful glowing octopus using acrylic paints. This is a fun one with lots of bright layers, blending and cool lighting effects. You don't need to be an expert, this tutorial is perfect for artists at any stage. This is a sped up video where I'll show you all of the steps to create this painting, but there's also a full-length step-by-step video available if you want to paint along with me in real time. The full video is available on my Patreon along with all of my other full-length art tutorials. I'll add the link below in case you're interested in this. I painted this octopus in 2 layers, which is a technique that I often recommend, especially for animal paintings. In the first layer we'll be adding the colour and marking out where the shadows and highlights will go. This allows us to paint the form and shape without worrying about the texture and smaller details. The first layer will look a bit messy, but don't worry as we'll neaten everything up in the second layer. I wanted this octopus painting to be really colourful, so I'm using a huge range of colours from warm yellows and oranges all the way through to cool purples and blues. This will give the octopus a rainbow effect that will make it look like he's almost glowing under the water. In this first layer, I'm keeping a close eye on my reference photo so that I know exactly where to paint the shadows and highlights. So if you're working from a reference photo, I recommend that you regularly check it while you're painting. I've uploaded the reference photo that I'm working from to the full-length tutorial if you want to use that for your painting. When adding your colours, try to imagine where the light will be hitting the octopus. If you use warmer shades of paint, such as yellow and orange, in these areas, it will really emphasise the warmth of the sunlight. And by contrast, if you use cooler blues and purples in the more shaded and lower areas of the painting, it will give the impression that these areas are reflecting the dark blue of the ocean. This is a great way to make an animal painting really colourful without the colours looking too random or out of place. When you're painting the first layer of the octopus, don't worry too much about blending the colours or adding any texture. We don't want to spend too long on this layer, we just want to create a guide that we can use later on. If anything looks wrong or out of place at this stage, we can easily fix it before we've spent too much time adding in details. Continue to paint the first layer using the same colour palette, and make sure you always remember where the light source is coming from. Now that the first layer is complete, we can start painting the eye. My canvas is pretty small, so I'm using a tiny pointed paintbrush to paint the eye so that I can add as much detail as possible. Use black paint to paint the pupil and the outline of the eye, and then use light blue paint to fill in the rest, blending it into the outer edge. Then use white paint to add in the highlight. Now we can start on the second layer of the painting. In this layer we'll be adding in the texture and finer details. We can use the first layer as a guide so that we know where to add each colour, and then we can use our paintbrush to add in some more texture. Using a few different shades of paint, we can add it to each section using a dabbing motion. We don't want to overblend the colours as we want to create a mottled effect. As this is a fun and colourful piece, we don't need to worry too much about photorealism, which is great because we don't need to spend ages adding in every single detail. We can just use this dabbing technique to quickly add the texture. The size of the paintbrush you use for this will depend on the size of your canvas. My canvas is only 8 by 8 inches, so it's quite small. If you're working on a larger canvas, then you might want to use a bigger brush for this. It might also help to practice the twisting and dabbing motion on an old canvas or piece of paper to get the technique right before using it on the painting. When working on the second layer of the painting, it's also a great time to increase the contrast by darkening the shadows and brightening the highlights. Increasing the contrast will help to make the painting pop. It will also help to make the colours look more vibrant and saturated. Once you have added the second layer to the top of the octopus, we can use the same technique to paint the arms. It's best to start with the arms that are the furthest back in the painting, as it's easier to then paint the ones in the front over the top. I'm working from left to right as I'm right-handed and I don't want to accidentally lean my hand in wet paint as I'm moving across the painting. If you are left-handed, you might prefer to work in the opposite direction. Continue to use the same technique to paint the rest of the arms, remembering to use the previous layer as a guide as to where to paint the shadows and which colours to use. This next part of the painting was my favourite part to paint, adding the little suction cups. It really brings the whole painting together and it's much quicker and easier than you would think. You'll want to use a shade of paint the same colour as the area you're working on, but a shade lighter. Then use a small paintbrush and paint small circles along the length of the arm, making sure you refer to your reference photo so that you know where to place them. Sometimes they will change sides if the arm is twisted, for example. Colours will also change as you move along the arm, so try to keep the colours the same as the area of the painting you're working on. Continue to use this same technique to add the suction cups to all of the arms. And that's it, your colourful octopus is complete. I hope you have fun painting your own octopus. And don't forget, if you'd like to follow the full step-by-step tutorial in real time, then just check out the link in the description below. Thanks so much for watching, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel for more fun painting projects just like this one.